All right, so can you hear me? Yes. Good evening, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to join you for your annual gala dinner. When I met you, Malt, and the rest of the Executive Council back in April, I emphasized the importance of maintaining regular contact, and you took that as an immediate opportunity to drag me out here tonight, but I said I will promise, I will keep my commitment, and here I am. So thank you. Thank you also for making sure that your invitation came with such great hospitality. I didn't check the wine list, but rest assured, whether it's Californian, Australian, Chilean, or French, all good wine is welcome here in Europe. Sorry to my French colleagues there, I can see. So I have a proper speech prepared, of course, for tonight. But since I already gave away the tagline, I wanted my message tonight to be simple. That Europe is open for business. The European Parliament is simplifying, we are consolidating, and we are working to see our transatlantic economy grow even stronger. And you will not often hear the President of the European Parliament say this, but I can tell you that you will say the following words more and more often. We have our industries back. Allow me to start by stating some facts. We are, first of all, the world's single largest market. We have a highly skilled, highly educated workforce. Our unique blend of open markets and social safety nets is what makes us different. It's what makes us attractive. And your operations here are proof that it works. And yet, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be honest to ourselves about where we could do better. I've met with a number of business and industry representatives over the past year, and I know the challenges you face. Fragmentation in our single market means that you sometimes need to navigate through 27 different national systems. When it comes to reporting, you often find yourselves dealing with double, sometimes even triple the paperwork. Last year, the CEO of a leading telecoms company in Europe told me that the vast majority of his board meetings are dedicated to compliance. And that, I think, is not sustainable. So that's why here, as President of the European Parliament, together with all the number of MEPs that I see around the tables here, we want this legislature to focus on strengthening Europe's competitiveness, on building a Europe that is flexible, that is agile, that is able to adapt, that is unafraid to change, or even reverse course if needed. A Europe that recognizes that legislation, and we are the legislators, we are the lawmakers who are responsible for everything we vote on, that legislation must provide a stable and predictable framework for businesses to grow. That doesn't keep revising its directives and regulations out of a lack of strategic vision or a knee-jerk reaction to every new challenge. So ultimately, I would like to see a Europe where bureaucracy is cut, where businesses see a return on their investments, and where simplicity, this is difficult to say, considering the institution I represent, but where simplicity is a way of operating, ingrained in our thinking, in everything we do. That is one commitment that I wanted to share with you tonight. And I can also assure you that it is one that runs deep throughout our entire complicated house. A year ago, just exactly a year ago, voters elected a very new, very different parliament. We've reformed, we're much faster, we're more decisive, and we're more effective. You saw, I hope you saw, how quickly we were able to postpone certain corporate and sustainable reporting requirements, the so-called Stop the Clock initiative, and the move to suspend penalties on the automotive sector. That is something the Parliament led, and I can tell you something I would not have imagined when I first got elected to the Parliament 12 years ago. What are our next steps? Our next steps are now set on further simplifying the EU carbon border adjustment mechanism and examining the long-term implications of anywhere else outside this room. I would not be able to use these acronyms, but I can use them here: CSRD and CSDDD. You know, we spend a whole campaign going around countries going CSRD, CSDDD, and voters would ask us, what are you talking about? But I guess in this room I can say this without having to explain. But a lot of you have told us, and we have heard, we have no choice, we have heard that these two pieces of legislation are, to a much and a large extent, unworkable and unfeasible. And we hear that because as co-legislators we understand the responsibility that we have, beyond anything else, to make things easier, simpler, smoother. If our continent is not the one that is able to break down barriers rather than put up new ones, to provide solutions and not to become part of the problem, then we are not doing our job well. I was reminded this again during the meetings I had with the US Chamber of Commerce and with the New York Stock Exchange this week. The reality is that the difference in the US system isn't simply about the depth of its capital markets. It is how seamlessly the entire ecosystem works together. From early stage funding to scaling up and going public, every step is connected with clear and predictable pathways. It is a system that is designed specifically to channel capital efficiently into innovation and growth. It enables companies, in fact, to scale rapidly across a market that is single and that is unified. And ultimately, it fosters a culture of entrepreneurship. That is the kind of coherence we really need to do business in Europe. And here, let me say how pleased I am to see you continuing your tradition of supporting European startups through the AmCham EU Youth Entrepreneurship Award. I really like the fact that the winner will benefit from your mentorship, because exchanging expertise, helping new ideas grow, creating real opportunities for young entrepreneurs is really the transatlantic partnership at its best. Now, a lot has been said and tweeted about the United States and Europe over the past few months, and I've been in politics long enough to know that ultimately each one of us will defend our own interests in our own way. I understand that, and Europe will do that as well, to be clear. But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. There is no greater alliance in the history of the modern world that has shaped so many lives and that has created so much prosperity. Our companies are connected as our way of life. Volkswagen builds cars in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Michelin in Greenville, South Carolina. I've been there. Bayer operates in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Airbus in Mobile, Alabama. This is our ultimately transatlantic bond, what we mean by it. One that is practical, one that is productive, and one that is real. And your study on the transatlantic economy puts it plainly. Together we create 16 million jobs. We account for half of global consumption. We generate $7.5 trillion in annual commercial sales, and we represent 1/3 of global GDP. So to me, the answer is clear. There are no more natural partners than we are to each other. And this is what me and my colleagues say when we meet with our US counterparts, what I said this week in New York. I also met there with your counterparts in the European American Chamber of Commerce, but also wherever I go. I was in Ohio for the Dayton Accords commemoration a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C. And everywhere that we go, the message that we give, but also, frankly, that we receive, is that tariffs are not the answer. Now, in Europe, we fully agree. Our global economic philosophy has always been about open, free, and fair trade that benefits everyone. Because we understand that it is always preferable to some losing and others losing a little bit less. Of course, we regret the recent decision to impose a 50% tariff on foreign steel and aluminium. But now is the time to be talking about trade deals and not trade disputes. That's how both our economies have grown over the years. This is not the first conversation we're having on tariffs with the United States. And I think that this is the approach that we should continue to take. The same one, by the way, that we're also taking with other parts of the world. So recently the European Union reached a new agreement with the United Kingdom. We've launched negotiations with the UAE and India, and just yesterday India's External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, was in the Parliament speaking to members of the European Parliament, looking forward to the conclusion of a trade agreement between the EU and India. Again, something I would never have imagined possible when I joined the Parliament. I would say, Eva, you're looking at me, even last mandate. And that, I think, also builds on the fact that we've secured major trade agreements with Japan and Australia, and I remain hopeful, of course, that before too long we'll be able to do the same with the United States. Ultimately, a comprehensive trade deal should be the end goal of our negotiations, because that would truly be a win-win that would benefit all. So let me recap. I haven't taken so long. I also made sure that you get food while I talk, because there's nothing worse than waiting and waiting and someone droning on forever. So just one more point. Let me recap as I started. Europe is open for business. We know where we need to step up, where we need to go faster, and we will. That you have our commitment. We will face, of course, the future with confidence. And when I look precisely to the future of our transatlantic relationship, I do so with a huge sense of optimism, because I know, dear friends, that the best is yet to come. Thank you.